This is Nigeria Today. We'll begin with the lingering strike that has crippled activities in government-owned tertiary institutions in about 3 months. The Federal Ministry of Education has apologized to the non-academic staff of the universities over neglect of its demands over the past months. At a conciliatory meeting, the Minister of Labour and Employment disclosed that a white paper on university needs assessment will be released on the 17th of May. CBS News' Joke Adesa reports.
The non-academic unions and the universities declared a 2-week warning strike on the 27th of March. The industrial action was extended by 1 month as a result of the inability of the authorities to commence negotiations with the striking workers. Now, the industrial action has entered its 2nd month, and the Minister of Labour and Employment, as the nation's chief conciliator, is brokering a truce. He attributes the strike to the absence of communication between the parent ministry and the university staff.
Session panels have been done in all places. The White Paper Committee has finished. They have drawn their report. And by May 17th, the White Paper will be released.
The Federal Ministry of Education apologizes for the stalemate between it and the workers since the strike began and promises to turn a new leaf.
Adamu, who had specifically asked me to come and plead for your forgiveness. That is as if your employer, Federal Ministry of Education, has abandoned you. Issues contrived to make it look that way. That is not the picture.
For the union leaders, beyond apology is the need to accede to all the demands of the unions in the interest of students, parents, and the nation's education sector.
The apology is not a problem to us. Our problem is that the ministry should do exactly what is expected of them.
Being denied by Ministry of Education openly, and I never knew that we have any labor issue or any industrial issue with them, and they are not our employer. So I'm happy that he's here to apologize today, and I hope this apology is not political.
Among the demands of the unions are implementation of the renegotiated 2009 agreement, payment of earned allowances, usurpation of non-academic career positions by vice-chancellors, inclusion of university staff school into the university community, non-payment of minimum wage arrears, and funding for state universities. Joke Adesa, TVC News, Abuja.
And it's day 2 of the protest embarked upon by students of the University of Benin over the industrial action by ASUU. The protesting students say the only way to end the incessant strike is for federal government to prioritize the education sector. The students who blocked major roads in protest for several hours displayed their cooking and football dexterity on the road, as well as received lectures. Well, they are calling on federal government to reconsider, or rather consider the plight of students by urgently meeting the demand of the union to enable them to return to school.
As I'm talking to you now, JAM is starting the exam by 6. They are going to remit money to federal government. Where are all those money going to? Our institution is dilapidating. We don't have a well-equipped laboratory, nothing. So I want to appeal to the federal government, any coming problem, anything you want to do, invest in educational sector. And you can see the grievances. This my director of welfare is in 400 level, 500 level, 500 7 years, 500 level. Yes. With him graduates.
When I was at home, election is coming again. We want to go back to our classroom. We are not hoodlums. We are not tats. We are not talks. We are not here to cause chaos. All we want is to go back to school. All we want is to go back to our classroom. That's what we want. And we are calling on all relevant authorities, the Union Labour Congress and all other unions, to support us in the struggle to make sure that Nigerian students in public university go back to school.
We will keep agitating till our voices are heard. It is so sad that without agitation, these people will not listen to us. A governor of a state named withheld posted the other day congratulating his child graduating from a school abroad in the UK. We all saw it from our houses, and we are pained. And the schools that these people attend abroad are public universities. But our public universities here are trash. So we are only crying as usual for our voices to be heard. And if you testify yesterday, the number was not up to this. Tomorrow, it will be worse. So let them answer us and answer us fast.
It is now over for...
And while the family and friends of late Ochanya Ogbanje have appealed to the Benue State government to challenge the court verdict freeing the main suspect involved in her rape and death, on April 28, a Makurdi High Court in Benue State discharged and acquitted Andrew Obuja of all 4 charges, but their family and friends are now urging Governor Samuel Otom to help upturn the Makurdi High Court decision by directing the state's Director of Public Prosecution to quickly file a notice of appeal and transmit the record of proceedings to the Court of Appeal for adjudication. Celestina Area reports.
It is now over 4 years since the death of Ochanya Ogbanje, and justice can be said to have been partially served on the accused. Ochanya was said to have been sexually molested by her uncle, Andrew Obuja, and his son, Victor Obuja. Mr. Obuja was arrested and remanded by the Makurdi Magistrate Court, while Mrs. Obuja was apprehended by NAPTIP on charges of negligence and conspiracy. The son, on the other hand, still remains at large. Mr. Obuja, a senior lecturer at Benue State Polytechnic, was arraigned at Benue State High Court in Makurdi on 4 charges of rape and murder. The contention here is the judgment delivered by the Federal High Court in Makurdi and the State High Court in Makurdi. The Federal High Court in Makurdi convicted Mrs. Obuja for negligence of duty and also trying to frustrate the investigation of NAPTIP. She was sentenced to 5 months imprisonment. But the State High Court in Makurdi discharged and acquitted Mr. Obuja on the ground that the prosecution failed to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt.
Everyone connected in the commission, in perpetrating this crime, is held to account. If we don't do that, last Thursday will continue to haunt us as a nation. It will continue to stand as a dark day in the campaign against sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. We must not allow that to happen.
We want to say that some of the gaps in the state prosecution's work, which are not enough for the judge to take advantage in order to throw a case out, because global best practices is that once victims or survivors have had the courage to speak about their abuse, you do everything possible so long as you have corroborative evidence to ensure that justice is delivered in favor of the victim.
But at least we trust that the judiciary will be able to deliver justice. And so we are back to ask that the judiciary please continue to help us.
Ochanya died few weeks after battling vesical vaginal fistula and other health challenges on 17th of October 2018. Until her death, she was a JSS2 student at the Federal Government College, Boko in Benue State. Celestina Area, TVC News, Abuja.
In Ondo State, the government seems not to be happy over the rise in gender-based violence, growing cases of sexual assault and harassment in higher institutions of learning. And to put an end to that, the government has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Gender Mobile Initiative in Akure. ABIODUN Maradio reports.
Sexual harassment has eaten deep into Nigeria's university community. In a survey conducted by the World Bank Women Group, 70% of female graduates from Nigerian universities have been sexually harassed, and these numbers keep rising every year. The Ondo State government is determined to address these issues through a partnership with various organizations. Here, the state government, through the Office of the State Governor on Gender, entered into a partnership with the group Gender Mobile Initiative.
What this also means is that whatever is going
the Executive
into this
Director of Gender Mobile Initiative, Omoumi Oborotimi, said campus safety policy has been adopted in universities across the country. Oborotimi said the partnership will allow the state government to adopt its model to address sexual violence.
Particularly sexual harassment. is, on the rise, and it's really important that we rise to the occasion to address these issues. In the last 4 years, Gender Mobile has worked with institutions of higher learning essentially to address sexual harassment, adopting a tripartite approach of policy design, community-led bystander intervention, and also creative integration of technology.
Earlier, the special advisor to the state governor on gender, Olamide Falana, said the project was born out of the need to have active collaboration with civil society organizations.
Because we want the very best for our state, and I'm excited that this day has actually come for us to commence activities in furtherance of our state response towards ending gender-based violence in Ondo State.
Other stakeholders stress the need for government to partner non-governmental organizations to eradicate gender-based violence.
The institution is just a microcosm of what is happening all over. And, the films we watch, and unfortunately, even what we see on the social media. So it goes beyond targeting the institution. It's also important for us to ensure that mosques, churches...
We should create more awareness, telling people, telling the women, telling the men what they are supposed to do and what they are not supposed to do. It's not that they don't know it.
It's believed that partnership like this will go a long way in tackling sexual harassment in tertiary institutions across Ondo State. Aida Jimora, your TVC News.
To other news now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has insisted that the deadlines for conduct of political party primaries ahead of the 2023 election will not extend beyond 1 month. A statement issued today by its National Commission and Chairman of Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, noted that political parties are expected to follow the timetable and schedule of activities as released by the Commission ahead of the polls. It explains that parties are to conduct their primaries for the nomination of candidates from 4th April to 3rd June 2022. INEC also stated that the nominations for the Presidential and National Assembly elections should be submitted to it between 10th and 17th June, while that of the governorship and state houses of assembly are expected between 1st and 15th July. We'll take a break now and return with more stories. Stay with us. You're watching Nigeria Today. Without adequate security of lives and property, economic development will remain a mirage. This view was highlighted at an interactive session put together by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations in Lagos. Senior correspondent Ivy Kano reports.
For a state with over 20 million people, tackling crime and insecurity could be challenging for security operatives. Confronting this challenge often brings various stakeholders together. Such is this meeting organized by the Lagos State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. The Commissioner of Police says synergy is key to effective policing. According to him, everyone must contribute by giving useful information.
There's no law and order there. Development or growth cannot thrive. We are not magicians. We work on information, we work on intelligence. And how do we get intelligence and information from the public? There must be a kind of symbiotic relationship that we must work in synergy. The information so received is synthesized, processed, and it becomes actionable intelligence that we can work with to achieve our goal.
He's also bothered by how the Nigerian police are projected to children by their parents.
Oftentimes, you see parents, guardians, and teachers using mild threats. If you don't eat your food, I will call police for you. All these remarks are negative to the psyche of our growing child, who over time builds a negative perception about the police. If you don't eat your food, I'll call police for you. We say this without knowing the import of the meaning. So we have to please reorientate our children towards the perception they have about the police.
The chapter is satisfied with the interface between the two, describing it as fruitful.
He has shed more light on what the police are doing, and as relationship builders also, we are going to go through what he is is done, is said to us, and then placed it on different platforms, worked on it to see the way forward. We talked about stakeholders, and today he has even elaborated more on the different stakeholders that is needed. Crime should come to a minimum.
The Commissioner of Police promised to address all security concerns raised by members of the Institute. Ivy Kano, TVC News, Lagos.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has described the Lekki Deep Sea Port as a game-changer in the maritime sector, with the capacity to turn Nigeria into a shipping hub, boost the economy, as well as create jobs. The minister made the remarks in Lekki during a media tour of the facility. We have more in this report.
According to the minister, the investment in the seaport is worth $1.53 billion on fixed assets and $800 million on construction, and that the aggregate impact has been put at $361 billion in 45 years, which will be over 200 times the cost of building it. In addition, it will create over 100,000 jobs and bring revenues totaling $201 billion to state and federal government through taxes, royalties, and duties. He disclosed that the direct and induced business revenue impact is estimated at $158 billion, in addition to a qualitative impact on manufacturing, trade, and commercial services sector. The minister said Nigeria aims to utilize the Lekki Deep Sea Port to regain the maritime business that was lost to ports in Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and Ghana, stressing that it is also a big boost to Nigeria in its quest to take advantage of the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement.
I also don't have the list of those who are going to wait. So, but I think it's a very, new question, and we'll take this up to the Minister of Transportation.
Managing Director of the Lekki Deep Sea Port said the project, which had reached 89% completion, will commence operations before the end of this year, and that in the next 7 years, the construction of the second phase of the port will start.
And the third road is the road connecting the port to Lekki Junction. As far as we know, so the Nigerian government has some current cooperation with the GOVT group, and that road, the upgrade it also has already been started. They are mobilizing the related resources, and as per their plan, that hopefully that road could be completed. I guess next year. Yeah.
The Lekki Port Investment Holding Incorporation is owned by China Harbour Engineering Company and Tolaram Group with 75% share, Lagos State Government 20%, and the Nigerian Port Authority hold 5%.
Health workers at the Federal Teaching Hospital in Gombe are commemorating the World Hand Hygiene Day with a training and awareness program. This year's theme is Healthcare Quality and Safety Culture. Correspondent Larry Adeyemi reports.
From a meeting with all the principal officers in the teaching hospital to departmental inspection, then to a training conference, the Federal Teaching Hospital Gombe wants to break the chain of transmission of infections. With recent experience from coronavirus and Lassa fever, the hospital is conscious of hygiene more than ever.
If actually you look at the way diseases are being transmitted, from one point to the other, from one person to the other, usually there must be a medium, and hands have actually found to be one of the very easy medium to actually transmit disease from one person to another.
A major pillar in infection prevention and control is hand hygiene, because the hands carry or serve as the vehicles through which microorganisms that are disease causing are moved from one point to the other, from one patient to the other.
Although prime focus was given to patients and their relatives, the medical center wants to use this one-day event to strengthen its operational structure and policy. The chief medical director says the approach has a perfect balance of policy, personnel, and infrastructure.
And we are training and retraining our staff from doctors, nurses, medical laboratory scientists, physiotherapists, all the healthcare givers in the hospital. And at the same time also for quality assurance, for quality to be sure that your patients and patients' relatives are actually satisfied. You must hear from them.
The Federal Teaching Hospital Gombe is at the forefront of managing emergencies and outbreak of diseases for the estimated 30 million people that reside in the Northeast region. The Chief Medical Director of the facility explains that commemorating the World Hand Hygiene Day and sensitizing its staff is not just important for the patients, but also for the caregivers themselves. Landry Adiemi, TVC News, Gombe.
Away from that, in Bayelsa State, the natives of Ayama community are seeking help over the loss of land and buildings to coastal erosion. They're also demanding immediate action by government at all levels towards the completion of the abandoned shoreline protection contract in the community. There is more in this report.
Ayama Kingdom is said to be as old as the 17th century and remains one of the 3 clan headquarters in the Ogbia Council area. The once boisterous town is now a shadow of itself, as over 500 historical structures and more than a kilometer expanse of land have been washed away by erosion. Structures such as a church building, a police post, a landing jetty are no longer usable by the community. Hoisting placards to drive home their grievances, the natives are protesting against the lack of commitment on the part of the government.
This site that you are seeing is a new site. The old original Ayama has been eroded away long ago. Land here is now very expensive and costly as a result of lack of land, because it has eroded all the land.
The properties that have been eroded away, government has not come back to rebuild this property. Coastal erosion is a problem, yet it has been abandoned. Good luck awarded the contract to Dredging International. We were told that they had money. They didn't come.
The day that this erosion cut our house, if not God is looking after me and my children, maybe some of my children will fall down and lost in the river.
A few meters away from Ayama is the Ayakoro community, where a shoreline protection contract awarded by the Niger Delta Development Commission appears abandoned in 2011. Environmentalists believe that only immediate legislative and executive action will solve the issue.
The Environmental Rights Action has called for the establishment of a Flood and Erosion Commission in Bayelsa State, whereby maybe 1 or 2% of the 13% derivation should have been directed to this commission. And the commission should have been empowered by law to collaborate with other federal interventionist agencies and international development partners to deal with such issues.
We are so disappointed about abandoned shore protection job by NDDC. This place was giving contract. You are not even seeing the pillars. In some community, you see the pillars. Here, nothing.
The establishment of a Flood and Erosion Commission with adequate funding is believed to be one of the ways to curb its effect. Joseph Kunde, TVC News, Ayama.